Well, joining me here now is Alexander Lucy Smith, a Catholic priest who writes for the Catholic Herald, and Catherine Pepinster, the editor of the tabloid. Welcome to you both. And what do you think, Alexander Lucy Smith, happened here?
Oh, I think it's... The Vatican always speaks in a rather elaborate code. He handed in his resignation. The Pope requested him to resign.
The Pope actually asked him to resign?
That's what we were told. But I think when the Pope asks you to resign, you don't really have a choice about that. The Pope is the supreme power in the Catholic Church. When the Pope speaks, you do what he says. So he was effectively sacked.
Why?
Who knows? You'd have to ask the Pope that, not me, one of the humble foot soldiers of the Catholic Church. People will make up their own minds about that, but the Pope would have had his reasons for sacking him.
I mean, are you suggesting it was on the back of the allegations at the weekend, or is it more to do with the dogma of what he thought or believed?
I think to understand what's happened here, one would have to go back to the only other time the Pope's done this, when he condemned Father Marcial Degollado to a life of prayer and penitence without due process. There's been no due process here. The Pope has used his supreme power, which he uses very, very rarely. He's used it in this case. He decided very swiftly to act, and that's most unusual.
It's very interesting, isn't it, Catherine Pepinster? We're often being told that we sort of try and bring our own ideals of democracy and sort of fairness to an institution that doesn't pretend to be particularly democratic. I mean, does it seem to you that this has been a very sort of heavily bureaucratised event here? What?
I'm not sure it's bureaucratised. I think it's more really. As I understand it, Cardinal Keith O'Brien had indicated he wanted to go because of his ill health. The thing that's rather different is the way in which he wasn't allowed to stay there until the moment when he was supposed to go, which is actually in a month or so's time, and they cut him off.
What are we to make of his the issue of homosexuality? He's changed his mind on this, hasn't he? Or he's said different things publicly.
Well, what he's certainly done in recent times is speak about homosexuality in relation to gay marriage in very intemperate terms, which I think quite shocked some people and hurt others. And looking back now, it seemed a rather unwise thing to do.
Do you think that he hardened that line in his position under Ratzinger, under the current Pope? He
used to have a reputation as being a great liberal, and
I
mean, how does that change within a priest, within a cardinal?
I don't know. I think, we all try and be consistent if we're true to ourselves. But maybe the cardinal got a bit carried away by his position, the people around him. Who knows?
Well, he was put under certain pressure, wasn't he? Yes. Because when he became cardinal back in 2003, he had to swear an additional oath, which was very unusual, that he would stick to the teachings of the Church, because they had seen him up till then as a liberal.
And do you think the Church needs to re-examine these issues? I mean, for example, the whole question of celibacy.
Well, I think there is an issue over celibacy. On the other hand, we've seen with some of the other scandals that are around at the moment, be it the Liberal Democrats or things that go on in the BBC or in Cheetham School of Music, that sex problems, sex scandals aren't just in the Catholic Church. So I don't necessarily think celibacy equals problems. However, celibacy is clearly something which is an incredibly hard thing for many people. And one of the problems with it is that the Catholic Church has lost a lot of very good priests who've left to get married. And priests are becoming a bit of a rare breed.
What about what's happening, Alexander Lucy Smith, in the Vatican itself? We've seen several scandals at the moment, and of course we expect to be able to ask for transparency, and that's never been part of the currency, right? Well,
I think we've had too much transparency in the Vatican, in the sense that a whole load of things that people would have loved to have seen hidden and remained hidden have come out in the wash. The VatiLeaks scandal, the bank, all these things. Far too much information has come out. They're supposed to be sort of confidential.
Better off silent.
Well, it would have been possibly. I think what's happened is that the Vatican bureaucracy, the Roman Curia, is no longer fit for purpose. I think most people recognise this, and the first thing the Pope is going to have to do is go in there and reform the Roman Curia, which is what we wanted this Pope to do.
I would hope so, and I think Father Alexander is quite correct in saying that's one of the absolute priorities of the next papacy.
Okay,
It was
thank
the
you. I'm so
priority
sorry
of the last one.
We've run out of time. But